Hello, my name is Andrew Stow. I'm Head of Undergraduate Painting and Professor of Fine Art, and I'm going to talk to you about the undergraduate programme at the Slade. The Slade is the Fine Art Department of University College London, and UCL is an amazing university. It's the first university to admit women, to accept women, people regardless of their race, their religion, their social background. It's a very exciting place. It's got 42,000 students and 150 nationalities. And it's right in the middle of London. It's got a great research record. It's got 29 Nobel laureates. And they're all like, they've recently discovered, the astronomy department has discovered water on a planet in a different solar system. There's so much going on. It's such an exciting place to be based. The Slade is also super exciting. It's ranked #1 in The Guardian. It's got a great history. It's in the main quad of UCL. I'll just show you, I'll upload an image of it. It's my first image. There we go. Okay, so the Slade, the key things about the Slade are all the staff, all the teaching staff, particularly artists, there's a very good staff-student ratio of 11.5 to 1. It's, as I said earlier, it's ranked in the it's in the centre of London, and it's an extraordinary place, and it's got a great history. And I'll just give you some idea of some of the alumni. For example, alumni include Paula Rego, Anthony Gormley, Philida Barlow, Rachel Whiteread, Michael Andrews, Martin Creed, Cecily Brown, Alvaro Barrington, Christopher LeBrun, Mona Hartoum, Tacita Dean, Michael Armitage, Ange Smith, Spartacus Chetwynd, Angela de la Cruz, Douglas Gordon, Derek Jarman, Tess Jarre, Bernard Cohen, Colin Selve, Eduardo Palozzi, Walter Sickert, Mark Gertler, Bomberg, Patrick Heron, Paul Nash, Ben Nicholson, Dora Carrington, Stanley Spencer. It's an amazing list, and it's much bigger than that, but I don't want to go on and on. Every kind of art is made at the Slade, and one of the things we don't do is we don't tell you what to do. So this is where I go to my next slide. There are no projects. We want you to find out what you want to do. We want you to develop your own interests, your own work. We don't tell you what to do. We expose you to different media, different arguments, different discussions. Our teaching processes are about you entering this incredibly exciting discussion, argument, forum about what contemporary art is. Now, we expect you to initiate your own work. You get given a space, you make the work, and then you discuss it with us. It's not the other way around. We don't tell you, as I said. Now, I will describe some of, of how the course goes about. And there are various different methods of teaching. And we have two courses, a BFA and a BA. And I think it's very useful if I go quickly into that. The BA is a 4-year course. They're of equal standing. The BFA is a 3-year course. In the BFA, critical studies is assessed in years 1 and 2, and they must be passed in order for you to progress to the following year of the program. You're required as a student to identify and articulate your work's critical context and practical concerns. You need to present a text and make a presentation of your work at your end of year assessment. And then in your 3rd year, it's studio based, and the degree show counts for 100% of your degree. The degree show is marked and it's 100%. Your final year is 100%. And on the BA, it's 4 years, but there's a 20% art history component, of which 5% is accumulated by a first year, 5% by a second year essay, and 10% by a bigger third year dissertation. And for your final year, there's no written theory, but actually theory is probably at its strongest, at its highest in your final year in both BA and BFA. And they're very equal courses. Some slight difference is that in the BFA, as said already, you tend to focus and contextualize and discuss things around your own work, artists you look at, artists you want to talk about that relate to your work, what you read, etc. On the BA, you may study another aspect of art history. For example, you might be a painter, but you might study land art, or, you know, and write your main thesis on that. So, you know, it's quite different in approach. So the next question is, what other differences are there? Well, they both have an exchange program. In the BA, you go on the first term of your third year. So you, in both courses, you go on your penultimate year. So you go on your first term on your third year if you wish to. Maybe 10 or 11 students opt to do that every year on average. And it requires you to have done well in your previous end of year assessment. And and for the BFA, you go in the beginning of your second year. So BFA, it's the beginning of your second year. BA, the beginning of your third year. And so in both cases, your penultimate year. You've passed your previous year's summer assessment, and the actual college that you're going to has to accept you. You make an application. Now, we exchange with New York Studio School, Cooper Union, New York, with Chicago, with many, many all over the world, with Guangzhou in China, with Helsinki in Finland, with Malmo in Sweden, with the Beaux-Arts in Paris, with Frankfurt, many, many different art colleges. And it's an incredibly exciting thing to do. And we also have students from those places. And in fact, that is, you know, a very exciting thing about the Slade. It is very international. And that's really important. Now, the other thing that is slightly different with both of the BFA and BA is that if you're on the BA, you have to do a half course unit in another part of the university as well. Now, that's half a day a week for one term, and it can be amazing. You can do art history, you can do psychology, anthropology, you could learn a language, a modern language from the beginning. You could say learn Japanese as a total beginner, or Chinese. And but if you say done French A level and you want to study at that level, you can also do that. And then there are many, many different subjects across the university. You can actually do that. And as I say, it's half a course unit for one term, and you have to completed that before you enter your final year. So on the BA, you have to do it before your fourth year in order to go on to your final year, your fourth year. The BFA, there isn't a requirement. But on both courses, you can access things like professorial lectures, lunchtime lectures. There are all sorts of things, that wonderful chances you have to hear about other subjects. And that's the kind of main distance. Now, how is it taught? The teaching processes. Now, I'm going to move to the next slide. One-to-one tutorials. Now, as I said earlier, we have a quite amazing staff-student ratio of about 11.5 to 1. And you can sign up to have a tutorial with anyone in the school, okay? And we'll expect you to have many tutorials within the areas that you are. And you will have a personal tutor. Now, one thing I have not said yet is the Slade has 3 areas: painting, fine art media, and sculpture. Now, when you arrive at the Slade, you study, you all stay together. You're given a studio space together the first year until Christmas. And then at the end of that term, you decide which area you want to go to. And it doesn't necessarily have to be what you do. Painters sometimes go into sculpture, and sculptures into media, and media into painting. And it's not a final choice. You can move during your 3 or 4 years at the Slade. This is like a very important part. So the idea is that you study deeply into one subject area, but the cross area is incredibly important. So we have cross area seminars, cross area crits, whole school lectures, and your tutor, your personal tutor, is not necessarily from your area. So you could be in painting and have a sculpture tutor, for example. And this is really, really important. And so we really believe in that cross area thing, as well as the individual deep studying that's involved in being in a kind of discourse that belongs to an area, in a kind of studio culture. Anyway, so you start off as a group first years, and you make your decision because you attend the seminars, you attend the lectures, you get a feeling of what the studio culture is like in the different areas, and you make a choice at Christmas. And that's an initial choice, as I said earlier. You can change and move on. Okay, so the next thing is you have a personal tutor. And as I said earlier, the personal tutor is necessarily from your area, but you have tutorials with your personal tutor, you have tutorials within your area. You can sign up for them, request them, and you have a tutor with anyone across the school. And there are other ways that you access, you have discussion about your work. You have a tutor group. When your tutor will have a tutor group of about 10 to 12 students, and at least a couple of times a year, you'll go around as a group and you will discuss it, present your work. Everyone will present their work in the group, and it'll be a group comprising of students from all areas, painting, media, sculpture. So it's a very good, nice way of integrating. We also have seminars, and we have area seminars. They're critiques, really. And so this is an example, for example, of a painting critique. And so everybody will attend the painting seminar, the sculpture seminar, the fine art media seminar in the area. And it's a great forum for you to get response to your work from fellow students. And it also is a chance for you to be vocal about other people's work. Perhaps 4 or 5 people will present every week, and all the different areas have their seminars generally at different times. So you can actually attend seminars that are not in your area. Very important. And we also have cross-area seminars where people from someone from sculpture, someone from painting, someone from media will present their work. And again, open to everybody that wants to go. And that's another way that these things happen. I'll now move on a slide. That's another crit happening. And we have visiting artists. And the great thing about visiting artists, we have a whole range of very, very exciting visiting artists. And I can give you an example of some we've had recently. For example, we recently have had Matt Copson, Sadie Saar, Lewis Hammond, Michael Armitage, Rachel Jones, Lisa Bryce, Alvaro Barrington, who's done quite a lot at the Slade, Jade Fajutimi, who also has done quite a lot, Alison Katz, Denzel Forrester, Eddie P, Sean Stedman. There are many others, and it's a wonderful thing. Every area has their own budget to do this, and so you can go attend all the lectures. They also give tutorials, so hopefully you'll have at least one tutorial with a visiting artist every year, and it's another input to your teaching. Now, the next, we have other lectures too. We have contemporary art lectures. Now, I haven't got the latest list because of the coronavirus boroughs, but I mean, for example, quite recently, we had Luke Toymans give one, we had Peter Doig, Phila de Barlow, David Madala, Tess Jarre. You know, it was very, very exciting always. That's actually Peter Doig. And it's for a whole school-wide in a UCL lecture theatre. Everyone attends, grads, undergrads, and they're compulsory, and it's very, very important part of the teaching process. So as you can see, you get bombarded with different possibilities. We also provide a careers program. And the careers program, it's like a professional practice. We help you study about what happens when you leave art school, how do you get to studio, how can you approach doing an exhibition, etc. And all about application procedures. It's a very, very important part of the program, and it's particularly focused on final year students. But you know, that's another thing we do. There are quite a few other kind of aspects that we do. And oh, these are some of the technical facilities. There are two different views. They're not all included here. We have amazing woodworks, amazing printmaking facilities. There they are. And we have amazing printmaking. We have also video editing suites, all really, really wonderfully provided for. Also, while you're there, we have a number of kind of side options that are part of what we do. And I think one of the things we do is we often students make shows together or do stuff together. Maybe they do outside shows, or they do something with the museums, within the UCL museum, and it's a great opportunity to do stuff together. And sometimes students become curators and gallerists, and they develop that way. The other thing that is another thing that we do is, which is very important, I think, is we have an artist in residence program, which we have artists from all over the world. We've had artists from Africa, from Japan, from China, from Thailand, from Malaysia, from America. You know, a lot of artists in residence and the idea is to make sure, it's part of like our transcultural art network, to make sure that the discourse that's discussed in the Slade is international, global, transcultural, as well as local. So it's to provide a very important aspect to being an artist. I think, you know, the next thing, of course, that happens is there's also quite a lot of performance going on, and there's a UCL theatre, and sometimes events happen there, and it can be very exciting as well. That's another thing, that's a great thing about being part of UCL. And but I'd like to go back to, which is that you develop your own interests. We don't tell you what to do. And we have a very diverse group. That's someone who made a huge painting in the research center. There isn't a type of work going on. There's all sorts of stuff going on in every medium. And it's really important that students that come have a sense of being able to initiate their own work. And of course, what they do will change dramatically while they're here. But they can cope with the fact they're not given like projects all the time, being told what to do. These are students mainly from 2 or 3 years ago. And it's a mix. Some are current students, but I'm just going through a few images. Some of these, sometimes we have like a second year show in a research center, for example, or a final year show in the autumn term to give them practice for their degree show. I'm just going through some of the work. And I think, I mean, for example, that's a video. It's more difficult to show moving images on this particular situation. That's a performance. I hope I'm not going too quickly here, but I want to come to the application. This is just a big cross-section of work made. And I think after this one, there we are, the application. Now, what's very important to know is we require ABB at A level. But if we are really convinced by your application, we will argue the case to take you. And the same with the, the GCSE and the modern language, which can actually be done when you arrive at UCL if you haven't got that GCSE. So don't let these requirements stop you applying. There are also other methods of getting the requirements through foundation, other things. So that's the kind of technical thing. Now, this is very important, the application procedure. Now, one of the things that we require is that you either submit a physical portfolio, which is great if you're in London or nearby, or an online one. And basically, we're not interested in particularly in project work, in A-level work, but if that's what you've got, that's what you've got. And sometimes people have taken those kind of things, have taken like a foundation project to an amazingly personal level, and it's come very fascinating. So, and very much them, and that can be very interesting. But generally, we're interested to see the work that you have made that represents a kind of independent, a kind of sense of what you want to make, even though we know that when you arrive, things will change and you will experiment and etc. So the portfolio is an indicator. Now we get about between 1,000 and 1,400 applicants, and we interview 200. So it's very competitive. As I say, we do both the physical portfolio and the online one. And then we hope that you can come for interview. And at interview, as it says there, we'll ask you to talk about your work, present your work for a few minutes, and then we'll ask you questions about it if necessary. But then we'll get you to answer various pre-agreed questions. For example, why do you want to study at the Slade? And this is a really, exciting. If you got to an interview, you're down to the last 200 from maybe 1,200 people. And we then have the big struggle of how to pick, on both levels, it's even a struggle who to interview, how to pick the best 45 to 50 people to offer them a place. And we don't agree. So there's, always a big discussion. I mean, we agree in the end, but there's a big discussion. It's not that straightforward. And the reason I'm saying that is, if you get rejected, do try again. Sometimes people have got in on their third attempt. And it doesn't mean you're not a good artist if you don't get in. There's always going to be luck in these procedures. And, we are really interested in getting an extraordinary mix of people. And, that is a really key part of it, to get this kind of diverse mix of artists and of people applying. And I think that's, that's why we say don't worry. Here is some information about the BA and BFA. I'll leave it up for a second for you to look at. I think that the thing to say is that it is an incredibly exciting place to be the Slade. It's got such a great community, and there's such great students in it. And obviously, we're very lucky to have so many applicants. It's fantastic. The staff are wonderful, and it's just and we have extraordinary visitors, extraordinary lectures, and it's this great forum of discussion. And I really hope you make an application. I'll just show you now, I think the very last slide is the students at the Slade sitting in the main quad for their annual photos about this time of year. And that's all the undergrads and grads and staff are in that day. Again, you know, I say staff that's in that day because all the staff are practicing artists, so they have different schedules, and some are in more than others, and some are full-time and some are part-time, but everyone has a research component. So there's this, everyone is actually making art, the students and the staff. I hope you've enjoyed the talk. I hope I didn't go on too long, but thank you for listening. And I will be around for answering questions as well. And after this, or if it's not me, there will be someone there answering questions in my place. And thank you very much for listening. And I look forward to seeing your applications and you, and very best wishes. Thank you.